Ōtorohanga Matata, welcome everybody to the hearings panel, Ōtorohanga Reserve Management Strategy and Reserve Management Plan meeting on the 8th of July 2025. So welcome everybody. We will start with the opening karakia, which is in front of you all.
Te whakapono, ma te tūmanako, ma te titiro, ma te whakarongo, ma te mahitahi, ma te manawehu, ma te aroha, ka taia e tātou.
Thank you, everybody. Apologies, we have 3 apologies this morning, and that there is Peter Coventry, Kat Brown-Merrin and Tori Muller. I'd like to move that those apologies be received. Oh, it's true, yeah, and thank you. And Councillor Christensen, I'd like to move that. Second to Councillor Dow, all in favour? Carried, thank you. There are no late items, and anybody, if there's any direct declarations of conflict of interest? No. So we'll move on to the decision report, item 38, draft Ōtorohanga Reserve Strategy and Reserve Management Plan, updated following considerations of submissions. Sandra and Mark. Well,
Tēnā koutou katoa. The updated draft Ōtorohanga Reserve Strategy and Reserves Management Plan sets out a long-term vision for the future use, development and management of reserves across the district. Key changes include revised concept plans for Ōtorohanga Domain and Island Reserve, and provision for the use of existing facilities and inclusion of the Ōtorohanga Reserve, also known as the Village Green. The plan aims to ensure our reserves remain well used, inclusive and fit for purpose in the future. It also includes a commitment to explore opportunities for customary naming of parks and reserves in collaboration with mana whenua where appropriate. As outlined on page 5, the strategy is aspirational and the plans presented are concepts, so are not cast in stone. Further processes, including community stakeholder engagement, will be followed before any final decisions are taken on major projects. This will include providing information on how these projects will be funded and by whom. Until these processes are complete, it cannot be assumed that council rates funding as a given. We recommend that the updated draft Ōtorohanga Reserve Strategy and Reserves Management Plan be referred to council for adoption. The plan aligns with the Reserve Act 1977 and supports key projects from the Ōtorohanga Town Concept Plan and Long-Term Plan. Adoption will allow council to progress this community-informed strategy and provide clear direction for future investment in public open spaces. I'd like to take the report as read and welcome any questions.
awesome. Thanks, Sandra. Questions, councillors? Councillor Dow's getting ready?
Yeah,
Go for it.
Just reading the Hupatia Reserve one, and it says that the Carriers Association are happy to move. Well, I was at the AGM and they're not happy to move, so it was unanimous that they were happy where they were and didn't see the need to move. So I'm not sure. I know the original conversation was, or whatever's good for the town, but when it comes down to it, and there's not really, well, they couldn't think of anywhere to move to. We even looked at moving them to our yard because we've got a truck wash, but unfortunately regional councils only allows us to wash stock trucks there now. They've clamped it down, so as soon as we get rid of regional councils, the better. Anyway, that's another story. It's not for this meeting, but yeah. So I mean, it's not, the information's not quite.
Well, that was based. I don't want to blame Ross for things now that he's not.
I'm just saying. So all I mean is, if we agree on it today, I mean, it's not a given that anything's going to happen anyway. I'm assuming
We can change the wording around that.
But yeah, there was no, then and the other thing I'm not that happy about is putting speed humps down Kakamurta Drive, because we've already had in the past everyone was using Hinawai Street because that was the quickest way to town. And they tried years ago to put rumble strips in to slow everyone down, and that caused problems with the neighbours. So then they changed the intersection on Hinawai and Kakamurta to make people go via Kakamurta. But as soon as you put humps in, you'll probably divert the traffic back. And then you're going to, yeah. So I'm not sure whether that's been thought about, whether the residents have been notified that could change the traffic flows.
Which page are you referring to? The hump?
Oh, right, on the plan, in the right, and it's like the walking cycling plan.
I think there's traffic calming, but not necessarily.
Well, that's the same thing, isn't it, really?
No, it can be just different materials on the road. It's not necessarily speed humps. It could be like a different coloured asphalt, or it could be, you know, traffic calming can be narrowing of the road at certain places.
Yeah.
So I don't believe it's specifically speed humps. It's just traffic calming to try and allow safer pedestrian crossing.
So, you know, just for my clarity, like for instance, if we say yes to this, you know, what's here was obviously the community's consulted on it, but before anything happens, it'll have to go back to getting budgets and getting. So for instance, the netball courts, it's pretty much they'd like to move. So now it's all like the plan is adopted. The netball association would go and get quotes or whatever, and then we'd figure out what we're going to do from there. Is that how it would work?
It gives, what this plan
Yeah.
does, gives us a strategic direction going forth. I mean, you're not actually sticking to everything that's in here, but it gives you a guideline of what the vision for through consultation and with the community, just giving a guideline what we want to do. So there's, you know, indicators there that we're going to spend money here and there, but that there's just an idea or a concept. It's got to be formulated and funded and reprioritised. So I'm sure as things get tighter, there'll be a lot of questions from this council table over time about, gee, I don't know if we're in the right space financially to do that at the moment. We'll have to reprioritise something else, look at the low-hanging fruit. We can still get a visual improvement of what's going on without the big bucks spent. Yeah. And I think everything that always changes as well, there's going to be other opportunities that will come up that the council and community boards may decide to jump on. But this here's just really a good indicator of we want to hear in the absence of it previously.
Yeah. It's just, like, well, it was only the last meeting we were talking about money was assigned in the annual plan to Hupatia Reserve, but there's already an issue that, you know, well, the truck wash is not going to move, so that's going to, well, not wanting to move, you know. And then whether someone's going to go and buy EcoFX and relocate them, I don't know of any ratepayers I'll talk to happy to do that, but I mean, someone can personally go and do it and plant shrubs if they would like. It's an easy.
Do you want to speak to it as a guideline, Mark?
Yeah, if I can just add, I mean, this gives us a bit of I suppose this is a very high level strategic document at the end of the day that gives us some guidance for the future. So it's not, you know, as Sandra said, this is not cast in stone, but it does give staff and council some form of plan going forward. So should the opportunity arise for land to become available, we can see that, oh, that's a part of the strategic purchase could be possible for this plan. Or if the carriers should decide that they don't want to be in anymore, we don't move forward and let another one be built there. So because you've got an overall plan that shows you what we want to do with these areas, it sort of removes that ad hoc change from, oh, today we'll do this, tomorrow we'll do that. So without something that gives some direction, you can't really achieve those goals. So I don't know if that helps. And just to further answer your other question, anything that progresses on any council reserves would require council involvement, council resolutions. So it's only a start of the process. So if you cast your mind back to the Reg Brett work that was built, the playground, that went completely through council. Council gave approval for that land to be used, which would be the same scenario here, I imagine.
Through you, Worship, I think it also gives us opportunities to, I guess, participate in what might come forward and regionally or locally. It's kind of, we're shovel ready, if you know what I mean. I hate using that word because it's back to it. But we missed out on funding several years ago because we didn't have plans in place. We hadn't done the work and we weren't ready to seize opportunities as they came up. Now, I know this current government has tightened its belt, but that may not last forever, and regional deals and things like that are still on the table and still being talked about. And I believe these sort of plans put us in a really good position to seize opportunities for potential outside funding should they arise. So, yeah.
Any further questions, councillors? Sorry, I just deleted my digital agenda. So I had to go to the old fashioned route. Yeah, Victoria.
O tēnā tātou. Just a comment, I guess, from me as one of the mana whenua representatives in respect of the Huiputia Reserve, both EcoFX and the truck wash. We've actually been talking to council for over a decade now, close to 15 years from the time that I was working for Maniapoto Māori Trust Board, about those being offensive to mana whenua, both of those things, because they're essentially in the space of a battleground in terms of Huiputia. And actually, mana whenua have wanted those removed for some time now. So I just wanted to make that the position clear about where mana whenua stands as far as the truck wash is concerned and as far as EcoFX is concerned, because for both of those, mana whenua weren't engaged in any kind of conversation about it. So just making that clear that it is a space that has significance for mana whenua, actually all of Maniapoto and Ngāpuhi, because of the battle that occurred there. Ka pai?
Thank you. Councillor Jeffries.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, it's just a matter of process. I think probably, has this or will this be going to the community board? It's been to the community board, has it? Oh, okay, right. Yeah, so the reason I asked is that this seems to be aimed, well, it is aimed specifically at Ōtorohanga Township. Yeah, so I haven't gone into any great depth in reading this because I'd assumed that the community board's already seen it and approved it. So, yep, cool. Thanks.
Any further questions, councillors? If not, our recommendation here is that having considered the feedback submissions received on the draft Ōtorohanga Reserve Strategy and Reserves Management Plan and the consequential changes, the hearing panel refer the updated draft Ōtorohanga Reserve Strategy and Reserve Management Plan to the Ōtorohanga District Council for adoption. Are we saying with the following changes? And the following changes as listed below.
There's the only changes, there's some minor edits, like there's some page numbers that are in white ink on white pages, things like that. But otherwise there are no changes unless you're recommending if Rodney wants
It's
it
just
changing around the wording of the Carriers Association.
Yeah, do we want to make that a little bit more kind of open to further discussion? I don't know, I can't find the page that it's on, but
At the AGM, they were going to send a letter, but I don't know whether that's got lost or whether it's happened. I can chase that up from the Carers Association. So obviously, you haven't heard that, but it might be better to do it.
Just wondering, can we go to the words you're talking about, councillor, so that we can just make sure that you're comfortable with the wording?
Page 19 of the strategy. Is that the page that you're referring? Sorry. Page you're referring to? Conversations with the Ōtorohanga Carriers Association focused on the acknowledgement that the truck wash located in Huiputia Reserve currently doesn't align with the land use at surrounding reserve, and expressing a willingness to shift to a suitable new location when it is identified.
I don't think there's a big problem with that. It's that at the AGM was like, why there isn't anywhere to shift to. So I mean, so it's kind of, that was the initial conversation, and there's no way the Carriers Association want to stand in front of stopping progress of the town or something, But it was just factual. It was unanimous at the meeting that
Just awareness.
yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know.
So I think the wording can probably stay as it is. It doesn't have any impact on the.
Yeah.
And there's another on page 118, work with the Ōtorohanga Carriers Association to find an alternate location for truck wash.
So I think, yeah, and I think it covers it pretty well. So still working with the Carriers Association.
Yeah.
And
I suppose if mana whenua are going to buy some land for them to shift somewhere else, I guess. I don't know. Well, whoever wants the land, it's the council, yeah.
Councillor Jeffries and Councillor Williams.
Well, thanks, Worship. Yeah, just on clause 5.4, it's just a matter of clarification. There's a 600,000 that's been allocated for the concept plans. Is that also going to be allocated in some basis across the three different plans?
I think we have talked about that in a previous workshop and said yes. So council has settled on the priorities for the concept plans across the three concept plans. Now that the Better Places work has been done out in Kāwhia, Aotea, what I've heard around the table is that there might be a view that we slow down the implementation of the concept plans. So you'll get a status report in the July meeting on the concept plans, and I'll be seeking direction from council as to whether we workshop that around what does slowing down look like to ensure that we're honouring the commitment that we've made to the communities and people that we've engaged with, but recognising the fiscal constraints that council has.
Yep.
So yeah, but to answer your question, yes, it is across the three, but we might do a bit of a reprioritisation in the next couple of months.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, good, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Just around the wording, recognising that it is high level strategic, it does, should it become available, better wording than when it becomes available. Because that's the opportunity across the whole plan really is, should there be an opportunity, whether it's at the Domain or anywhere else in town, then we have a, opportunity there. Yeah.
And it might be that we have a cordial with the regional council. Councillor Dow's told us that they've said, no, we can't extend the consent for your one. It might be that we have further discussions with them to see what would it take to use an existing facility and get consent for that, to broaden that.
Okay. So back to our recommendation with following some small grammatical changes. Victoria.
Mayor Baxter, I want to actually address that flip comment that was made. I don't think it, I'm quite offended by it, to be honest, and I think that all of Ngāti Maniapoto would be very offended by that comment. And the comment went something like, if mana whenua want to buy some land, then whatever the rest of it was. Councillor Dow, all of the majority of the land in Ōtorohanga, specifically around the original path of the river, was Māori land. Puputia, that land was taken from Māori, and I take offence, and I actually want it noted, I take offence to the notion that you might say at this hearing, regards to the reserves management plan, that if mana whenua want to buy some land, then they can go for it. I take offence to that, and I think that all Māori, not just Ngāti Maniapoto, not just mana whenua, would take offence to it too. And I want that noted. Ina koto.
Thanks, Victoria. You're seeking an apology?
But I just respond, I'm sorry, I was probably misunderstood. But what I meant was, Elaine, if we're going to shift, we need to shift with mana whenua. I didn't actually mean mana whenua actually buy land. What I was meaning was to make sure we go to a suitable place. I'm sorry, my comment was probably not quite right. I think the buying wasn't what I meant. I meant there's no good us shifting somewhere else if it's a mana whenua has, So we'd have to make sure that if we do shift, it would be with the blessing of everybody. That's what I was kind of meaning, Victoria.
Well,
sorry.
that's not how it came across.
Yeah, I probably did come across a bit wrong.
Flip comment, and absolutely not
But
necessarily.
I do think, I'm sorry about that, but yeah, I was meaning, we're happy where we are, obviously, the Carriers Association and speaking before. But if we're to shift it, it does need to be to make sure we're not shifting somewhere else that we have the same problem in another 50 years' time. So yeah, I wasn't meaning none of it will have to actually physically pay for it, so sorry about that.
Thank you, councillor. Thank you. We have the recommendation, which I'd like to move. Do I have a seconder, please? Seconder, councillor Prendergast, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Sandra. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
And we please keep our mics on for closing karakia, which is Mā te whakapono, Mā te tūmanako, Mā te titiro, Mā te
whakarongo,
Mā te
mahitahi,
Mā te
manawanui, mā te aroha, katoa e tātou.
Thank you, councillors, and thank you to Mana Whenua, and thank you to Community Board. Yes, Joe's there. I'd like to declare this meeting closed. Thank you.